On Wednesday, the first of two double-length episodes of Doctor Who, the TARDIS is forced to land on Earth, where the Doctor faces an old enemy.
I can't free the TARDIS from the time corridor!
But the Daleks have suffered heavy losses.
Dalek casualties.
They lost Davros.
The Resurrection of the Daleks begins on Wednesday at 6:50.
Welcome everyone, this is Master's Joke, also Master's Joke 75 on Instagram. Now a few weeks ago, I did a video about the fact that we weren't going to have a Resurrection of the Daleks B&M set released, and it just didn't make sense to me. So I did a video about it. A lot of negativity in the Doctor Who action figure community at the moment. So I vowed that I wasn't going to mention the Resurrection of the Daleks set again, and I kept my word. I've not mentioned it since. But then I've now heard that there is potentially going to be a Resurrection of the Daleks set by Character Options, possibly a B&M exclusive again. So, and again, where I'm hearing more information about it, there still seems to be a lot of negativity. Now, I'm really excited about this. So, the source of this information has come from the Power of Three podcast, which happened last week. And I listened to the podcast. I had a busy weekend, but I listened to the podcast. I think it was on Friday night. Absolutely fantastic news. So the Power of Three podcast, they had AD. They were interviewing AD about the action figures and the wave one of the B&M sets. And honestly, it was really, really interesting. They talked about they talked about the fact there was the oval missing from the Death Zone Dalek, and AD he admitted that he never spotted it. He never in the Five Doctors he never spotted that there was an oval. I've got to be honest, I never saw an oval either. So I've said it before. I think the Death Zone Dalek looks absolutely amazing. But then he came to the controversy over the Resurrection of the Daleks set. Now I was gutted because. The Five Doctors is my favourite episode ever. It's for nostalgia reasons, but Resurrection of the Daleks, that's up there. I mean, I remember being so scared when I was watching it because I think my mum was watching, something on telly downstairs. I can't remember what was on. I think it was on during the week back then, and it was the big, long episodes. So because I couldn't watch it, she said I could watch it upstairs in my brother's room on the black and white telly. And honestly, I couldn't stay in my brother's bedroom on my own. I was petrified. You got police officers shooting innocent people. Honestly, I was scared witless. But I think I don't know. Somehow I managed to watch the majority of the story. I knew what was going on, but I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favourites. So I was absolutely gutted when I found out it was being missed from the the B&M range, but now AD he's confirmed what the situation was. So he's confirmed that basically the Disney deal was going through with the BBC, but also Character Options contract with the BBC was up for renewal, and because he didn't know whether it was all up in the air. He didn't know whether they were going to extend the contract for this last wave of Doctor Who figures with B&M. He confirms he just decided to choose what Daleks he wanted. So it's a little bit more understandable. Because I probably would have done the same. I mean, I still would have had the Resurrection of the Daleks. But I mean, come on, that Death Zone Dalek is just amazing, absolutely amazing. So that's basically what he said. He's admitted that he gave a really poor excuse But he's also gone on to say that that his mind or memory does kind of lie, and to him, he had made loads of Resurrection of the Dalek sets and 4-packs and stuff. I mean, I missed out on all of them. I wasn't buying Doctor Who figures at that particular time in my life, a completely different life. So yeah, I think I got one Forbidden Planet set. What Forbidden Planet set did I buy? Yeah, I remember seeing the TARDISes, thinking, oh, I'll have to order that, and I just never did because I just wasn't in that. I wasn't in the place where I'd be able to even put them anywhere. So, but yeah, so it does explain a lot. So that's the reason why he's chosen these particular sets, because as far as he was concerned, it may have been the last Doctor Who character options sets ever. Oh yeah, and he also talked about the numbering and mentioned that he should really have numbered them correctly. I mean, in my opinion, why have numbers? You don't need numbers on History of the Daleks, because then it causes issue if you revisit. I mean, if you want to do some extra Dalek sets, or and then you're messing up the numbers. So I wouldn't have had numbers at all. I mean, I definitely need a job at Hasbro or Character Options, I think. But but yeah. So and he also, which I think was positive. He also touched on B&M and the issues with distribution, and also the scalpers, which appears to be getting worse and worse. So it was good to hear. It was good to hear that certain issues are being discussed, which affects all the fans. But it's out of Character Options control. Once it leaves the factory, it's with B&M, and it's up to them to send Daleks to the enough Daleks to the right stores. But no, it was a really, really interesting podcast. And also, what I found was really, really interesting was he said that this 4-pack, the reason he's doing a 4-pack is because of the trouble that people have had finding like the 2 sets. So his plan is do a 4-pack. Well, again, this is all up in the air, but it's what he'd like to do for next year. Do a 4-pack. It might even be slightly cheaper because you've got one big pack rather than 2 separate ones. And this is what he said. I mean, whether that happens is a different matter, but it's going to be 2 drones, the Supreme Dalek with the white hemispheres, which, yeah, I'd love to own that. And plus possibly Davros. So he wants to do something completely different. So this is all fantastic news. So really positive. It does seem very, very likely that we are going to get a Resurrection of the Dalek set. And the thing is, I mean, it takes about a year for a certain product to be decided upon. It takes about a year for it to actually be, hit the shops. So potentially it could be, it could be this time next year. So fingers crossed. I mean, who knows? Who knows what's around the corner? But it's looking very positive. It does seem that we are going to be getting a Resurrection of the Daleks 4-pack. So well happy with that. But other things that were mentioned during the podcast is AD mentioned he'd love an 8th Doctor box. I'd love to. I mean, the 8th Doctor TARDIS. Well, I've said this before. My favourite TARDIS was always the 80s. McGann came along. That became my favourite TARDIS. And now Jodie's, I don't know what it is, but Jodie's TARDIS is just fantastic. So Jodie's is my favourite, but the 8th Doctor's TARDIS would be just amazing. And I always wondered why they hadn't done it. But, on a positive note, AD mentioned that the tooling for the classic TARDIS sculpt keeps cracking and needs to be repaired. So he says it's happened a few times and they repair it, but possibly they might have to make new tooling, But if he does do that, he's going to do it where he can make adjustments. So potentially, for example, he said he could, make the Jodie TARDIS with, the little grooves on the side bits. You know what I'm talking about. Change the roofs, the lights. So yeah, I mean it's all looking good. I mean, again, that's not guaranteed, but it's something for the future. And talking, because I love the Paul McGann movie. I love Paul McGann. I think he's great. I've met him a couple of times. I love With Now and I as well. That's fantastic. And funny enough, I only realised that the With Now and I, Richard E. Grant, when he goes to the tea shop.
Cake and fine wine.
If you don't leave, we'll call the police.
Balls. We want the finest wines available to humanity. We want them here, and we want them now.
I didn't realise that the tea shop is just down the road from where I live. But it's not a tea shop at all. It's a chemist. So I'm definitely going to check that out on one of my location visits. But talking of the TV movie, he mentioned about the Master. So Eric Roberts, he actually has a head sculpt of Eric Roberts. And he's also... he's in possession of a collar as well, and he's got an idea of what body to put the collar and Eric Roberts on. So that sounds really good. So I was surprised to hear that. So that's all positive. And also he discussed the myth in relation to Anthony Ainley and the fact that character options or the alleged fact that character options don't have the rights to issue a body for Anthony Ainley, because all we've got, I haven't got one. That's another one I missed out on. All we've got is the chameleon body, the jacket and tie. So yeah, he says there's no issues with rights. So an Anthony Ainley Master could be a potential figure for the future, or maybe a Master 3-pack. A character options exclusive. So it's all looking good. There's character options have extended their contract with the BBC. No issues with Disney Plus. And also I've got to also say the amount of freedom as well as access character options now have with the BBC since RTD came back. And when I say that, AD touched on the sonic screwdriver, where they were so pleased with what he'd made that when they were comparing the prop version to the character options one, they look exactly the same. The only difference is the character options one has got lights and does stuff. So all good things. And he also, and in relation to access, he also mentioned about the Jodie and David Tennant 2-pack, where he had access to, that Jodie mishmash costume. They had full access to the costume, took loads of photos. So yeah, honestly, it looks great, and also it looks great for potential new figures from the new series. A bit like it was back in the noughties. Possibly, who knows? But yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you. But I didn't want to comment on it until I'd actually heard the whole podcast myself. And yeah, I heard it on Friday. But obviously, I've had a busy weekend. I went to the NEC Toy Fair, so I've only had a chance to actually make a video. But definitely check out the Power of Three podcast. So it was on last week, and I think they do one every week. Definitely worth listening to, and it's all looking positive. But anyway, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It lets me know you care, and it also helps the channel. And I will see you in the next one.